Okay. If you're watching this video, it's because you've decided that you want a little bit more extra help with picking out the details in a poem and using those details or descriptions to help you form questions. If that is the case, I'm happy you're watching this video, but I want to make sure I point a few things out. You'll notice that on this case, I've left this area blank, and then in both cases, the words that get highlighted in this video have not been highlighted on your handout. When I'm walking around the room, I expect to see, if you're watching these videos, that you're going to be doing the work of writing down anything I write in this area, and anything that gets highlighted, I expect to see you also highlight as well. So quickly, from last video, we had 2, sorry, 1, down, and then yellow, long, and far. Alright, we're going to do that same thing right now with this second stanza. So as we're looking at this second stanza, the second stanza reads, "Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though, as for that, the passing there, had worn them really about the same." And the first step we want to take when we do this is just to go through and pick out the adjectives that we see in the stanza. So we're looking through and we say, "Then took the other as just as fair." This phrase, just as fair, is a description because it's describing the roads, which are noted by the other. Alright, and having perhaps the better claim. What type of claim is it? It's a better claim. So better is also a description. Because it was grassy and wanted wear. How is it being described? It is being described as grassy, which is an adjective, and wanting wear. And wear is also an adjective, because it's describing the word it. What is it like? It is grassy, and it wants wear. I'll tell you that wear in this case is going to mean like to be used, so it wants to be used. Though, as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And really about the same is also a phrase that's being used to describe, because it's being used to describe how something is being worn, which makes this an adverb, because it's describing the action of wearing. Okay, so now we've gone through and we have picked out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phrases that are used to describe. And we're still asking ourselves the question, well, what's the message being sent in this poem? And we're still keeping in mind that in general, we're trying to figure out, like, if taking a walk in the woods is taking one road instead of the other, isn't a poem about just taking a walk in the woods. Is this a metaphor for, like, life decisions? So we're keeping that in the back of our head as we read through this stanza again. And as we read through this stanza, we say, alright, then took the other as just as fair. And he says, he's talking about taking the other roads, and he says, well, I took one road which was just as fair. And right now you want to pause and think about this before I tell you the answer. But what does the word fair mean in this case? Alright, so have that in your head before we go on. And I'll tell you that the word fair in this case is going to mean like even or equal. Alright? So then took the other as just as equal. And I'll make a quick note of myself just so I don't forget. And having perhaps the better claim. What type of claim is he talking about? Alright, he says, so one is better than the other. So what's a claim then? And remember, like, a claim is something that somebody might disagree with, or it seems like he's trying to describe these two roads. And the use of the word better here should tell us, like, okay, well, maybe, just maybe, one is better than the other. But the use of the word perhaps here is actually describing the word better. So yeah, maybe this is better, but we don't even know that for sure. So he takes one road, and he thinks one road is better, but it can't be possible. But he takes that road because it's grassy, and it looks like it wants to be worn, which means he takes the road because it has a lot of grass in it, and it seems like it wants to get some use, as if people have not been using it. Though, as for that passing there, had worn them really about the same. And this last description here kind of messes with us, because this description says that these two roads want to be worn equally. Which means we need to key in on these descriptions. If something wants wear, but he says they're worn equally, and if one road has perhaps the better claim, But again, he's saying, well, they're about the same. Are these two roads any different? Okay. But if these two roads are not any different, how does this relate to our big question of what's this poem all about? Or how does this poem relate to making decisions? Well, if these two roads are these two roads any different? If the roads aren't different, are the decisions not different? Okay, and that's a huge question for us, because this is the first time we've been able to use our annotations, and within our annotations, find details that get us to that big question, this decision. And we did that by looking at this description up here, just as fair and better, and then comparing it to the exact opposite information here. They're equal, they're the same. Alright, and by comparing the difference in those two descriptions, we were able to figure out, like, oh, he's saying there's not much difference between these two roads. Okay, I'm going to end the video there. What you and your partner should be doing when these videos end is I want you to work on stanza 3 and stanza 4 doing the same thing. Identifying your descriptions, and then after you've identified the descriptions, what questions do those descriptions make you ask? Writing those descriptions here. Okay?